Welcome in to this Paralympic extravaganza here on Rollin Illini. We've got a bunch of stuff just for you. We've been up since the crack of dawn, maybe even earlier. Gosh. James Boyd, Will Gerard, Jason Liggett. I'm Ryan Wilson here, Rollin Illini on WPGU 1071 and UPTV. Now, of course, today at 5 a.m., the Paralympic Games in Pyeongchang, South Korea are underway. Finally.
Yes.
5 a.m. we had our fun little viewing party as we were promoting on social media. That's right, we were up at 5 a.m. in my pajamas.
Somehow I got up when the alarm went off at 4:30 this morning. I don't know how that happened.
Yeah, I got a text from Will saying I'm up at like 4:40 and I was using the bathroom. I was like, yep, looks like we're all going to make it this time.
I had to confirm with everyone the night before. I was like, if I'm not there at 5, like, please call me, because that means I slept through my alarm.
Yeah, I was awake. Today we have a great show. We're talking with a lot of people. We're talking with Travis Dotson. We'll have more on him in a second. And Ragnhild Mikkelbust. Now, who was that?
The GOAT.
The GOAT of the Winter Paralympics. 22 Paralympic medals. Not too bad. She has the most Paralympic medals of any Winter Paralympian.
She has a medal for every year of my life. That's pretty crazy.
She's that good. She is a great person. As you'll find out, I got to chat with her at 2 a.m. this morning. A lively conversation. Learned a lot. Woke me up, and then I couldn't go back to sleep. Thank you so much, Ragnhild. I appreciate it. Very thankful for your time. But for now, we have some Paralympic stuff to watch for the next 10 or so days. We have 3 Illini competing. Kind of 4. So Aaron Pike, he's competing in Nordic skiing, Oksana Masters. Not an Illini, but she's part of the program, also in Nordic skiing. Travis Dodson, we'll hear from him in a few minutes. In hockey, James knows what that experience is like.
I am not good, so that's why we're talking to him and not me.
I had a great conversation with him last night, and we're also talking with Wataru Horie, sled hockey on Team Japan. Everybody else is on Team USA, but Wataru has an interesting story, so we'll have more on him. But I want to get to this viewing party. I know this is probably the first Paralympics you guys have watched in the opening ceremony, correct?
Yeah, I've probably seen maybe 2 opening ceremonies for the Olympics, so it was cool to see. And I think when you were telling me how like the torch has Braille on it, and they even had a blind girl sing like the opening song or the national anthem. So I thought it was pretty sick. I'm not gonna lie.
It's really an extravagant display. I mean, in terms of the way that everything was choreographed, the special effects that we saw, it does closely align with what you are accustomed to seeing with the Olympics. And I mean, one thing I know we mentioned when we were watching it too is even just the representation we saw in the commercials. I know one thing Ryan commented on was like, wow, I've never seen so many commercials that have like, para athletes in them. So like that was really cool. It was super like immersive experience from our perspective, getting the chance to really like kind of take it all in while everyone else was asleep.
For sure. And then on top of that, even in like the opening ceremony, there's a bunch of stuff I couldn't do. We got people climbing things and doing a bunch of stuff. I was like, what in the world? Like, so it was still pretty cool to see it. And then on top of that, I made the joke with Ryan that a lot of the countries brought out their flags and people were pushing their chairs and with this big flag sticking up on like the right or left side of their chair. And I'm like, we got to get you a flag. See how the wind blows.
I think it's interesting that we saw where North Korea and South Korea weren't together like they were in the Olympics. I mean, there were obviously a little bit few differences we saw in that presentation. There were the Russian athletes who were independent, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Neutral, or how they call
Yeah,
it?
they're the neutral Paralympic athletes.
I got the chance to see the mascot for the Paralympics for the first time, and let me tell you what, that bear is absolutely adorable. I cannot
I
get
didn't
enough
know that
of
was a
him
thing
dancing.
until this morning.
I
I was
was
like,
just
what
about to mention
a random
that.
bear.
I know as we were watching the ceremony, these guys were just amazed by this bear. The bear is the mascot of the Paralympic Games in Pyeongchang. So one thing the Paralympics tries to do is to have some sort of mascot every game. So it's a way to kind of get people hooked into it and personalize and humanize the games. So if you can get hooked into this mascot, maybe you'll be inclined to watch the games and the ceremony. Now this bear was seen dancing, skating. I think there were more than one bear because he was walking in with every
Well, he
team.
rolled in like a longboard / snowboard thing at one point, and that was actually extremely impressive because I mean in that outfit, I can't imagine trying to maintain your balance. 'Cause if you fall, everyone sees it. That'd be extremely
Yeah, I think we
embarrassing.
talked about that
Yes.
when the passing of the torch. It's like,
Yeah.
you got one job. Don't be the person that trips. Because it's a long way down. It's a long way down.
It
for
happened
real.
in Rio. Somebody tripped, but they helped her up, and she is up and gone. But
she did it for
so-
the fame to be remembered.
Of
No one ever
course,
falls, so I'll just fall this time. I'll give her the benefit of the
I
doubt.
will do this to look good. But outside of the bear and the phenomenal dancing from the bear, we saw some break dancing. I know, James, you were amazed by that.
Yeah,
People-
this guy spun on his hands for at least about 10 turns. I'm like, he has to have amazing upper body strength beyond just any. I was like, just amazed because I don't have any
Yeah.
upper body strength. There's nothing there. So that was cool.
Yeah, and there are people breakdancing in wheelchairs, too. I didn't catch that until after the fact, but there were probably a group of 6 or 7 people spinning on their hands in their chairs, so their only balance was on their hands.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I will not be doing that today. Maybe next week. I don't know. We'll see how the show is.
Maybe the
shake
shirt,
out.
maybe the Paralympic shirt will give you superpowers. Super strength
Maybe.
up here.
Just need to hang out with Tatiana more. Worked out with her again today. Enlightening experience. Kind of. Reminds me of how much I'm not an athlete. But anyways, we saw fireworks, lights, the usual stuff in the ceremony. Team USA, big team. Team Canada, notably big. And Japan, of course. There's Iran. All these other countries that are usually represented at the Olympics. But just to take a step back, I know we talk a lot about the word Paralympics. Actually, para in Olympics, para means with, and the Olympics means Olympics. So, with the Olympics. Same thing, different athletes. And it's not, I know as we mentioned, it's not Special Olympics.
Right.
Yeah, so it's Paralympics. These guys have a lot of medals.
They do.
Yeah.
I'm still stuck at 22 for every year of my life. So
Yeah. Yeah, that'll take
we
me.
talked to some pretty, well, you at a crazy hours talked to some pretty impressive people. This
Yeah,
week.
why don't you tell our listeners out there about how you were able to arrange these interviews? Because it seems
Yes.
like
Did
you
you
were
sleep
not
this week,
sleeping.
Ryan?
At least not at not when the sun was
You're out here sending
down.
Jason files at 3 a.m. He doesn't want to get these messages at 3 a.m.
Yeah, I was emailing our videographer, Jason Liggett. Shout out to him. 3 a.m. I'm like, man, here's a recording. Here's a picture. It's complete trash. But I am scrambling to find another picture, Jason. I feel really bad for that one.
That picture. You could have. Okay. A little backstory. Ryan did an interview this week.
2 a.m. this morning.
This morning. Could have at least told her sit still or pose or something. You tried to take a screenshot of someone. Just imagine listeners out there, FaceTime, Skype, whatever you use. Someone screenshotting you without you knowing. The picture is never going to be good.
I'm just
Ever.
confused why you didn't ask her because like her eyes aren't even open, you know. Like you should have been like, hey, can you like smile for the camera, please?
Oh man. I mean,
But that's okay. I'll give you a pass this one time.
Maybe it was that
you were
2
working
2
hard
a.m.,
this
okay?
week.
Just like want to get a representation of her sleeping, during the interview or something. I don't know.
Oh, that's hilarious. I was not addressed appropriately for a video interview. I will say that I had my Cleveland Cavaliers shirt on, and she's dressed up pretty nicely, and I'm like, gosh, this is a disaster. 2 a.m. I look like a mess. Hair is a mess.
You at least explained to her like what time it is.
Oh, yeah, she was well
here,
aware.
right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mentioned that in the end of the interview. We talked about that for a minute. So this week, to get all these nice interviews with Ragnar Hill and Travis, we worked with United States Paralympic Committee, and they connected with us with USA Hockey. We also, in attempts to get in touch with Wataru on Team Japan, worked with the Japanese Paralympic Committee. And for Ragnar, we got in touch with the Norwegian Paralympic Committee. That's all true stuff. We have connections. And
Worldwide connections.
I'm very grateful for that because, in all honesty, I'm going to these people for my work with the IPC. I'm not requesting stuff for our show, but then I'm like, hey, I do this show outside of my work with the IPC. Could you help us out? Yeah, sure. Thank you so much. Very grateful.
A lot of strong connections.
Yeah.
When you do good work, people tend to like you. And
Yeah,
do things for
so
you.
very thankful for all the connections we've made, and that will certainly help us out in the future, and we've met some phenomenal people. And so we're going to take a quick break and come back with Travis Dodson, USA Hockey. Oh my, what a break, full of laughs. Now we'll jump into a fun segment with Travis Johnson on Team USA sled hockey. Great guy, great conversation. Here it is. So welcome back into Rollin Illini here in WPGU 1071 UPTV. Now joined by Travis Dodson. Travis is in Pyeongchang, only a few hours away from the opening ceremony. Travis, what's going through your mind?
Just excitement, really. I mean, we've worked so hard as a team to get to this moment. And it's going to be awesome to get the games going.
Yeah, so take me through the lead up to the games. Obviously, a 4-year process. But what kind of went through your mind as you were working your way to qualify for this games?
It was just a lot of hard work. I mean, I really, after the 2014 games, I had watched the team play over there in Sochi and decided that I wanted to try to be a part of this sport. So I just went into it 100%, dove in. I mean, U of I was actually a big help because I was living there in Champaign at the time, and so I'd go over to the ice arena and ask them for extra ice time, and they were kind enough to give me quite a bit. So I just put in all the work and just skated as much as I could, and then was able to qualify this past year. So it's really exciting.
Yeah, that is exciting. Now, just to go a little bit more in depth, I know in Champaign right now there are no current Illinois athletes competing in sled hockey in the area, but for you, what did you do to initiate and then work up your sled hockey skills here in Champaign?
A lot of it was just going to stick and pucks. I mean, getting out on the ice and actually, working on stick handling and shooting and all that stuff. And then, to really get to that next level, eventually I had to kind of move to Chicago, where there's some other sled hockey guys that were really good, because I wanted to train with them to really start, bringing my game to the next level. And just the amount of ice rinks up in Chicago, I could get ice every day and stuff. So Champaign was a great start and really helped me get going. But eventually, to get to that next tier, you have to start training with some of the best guys,
Mm-hmm. And who are some of those influential figures that help you take your skill set to the next level?
The guys in Chicago were Brody Roybal, Kevin McKee, and Josh Mashevitz. They're all guys that were on the national team at the time, and so I was playing for the club team, the RIC Blackhawks, and now the Shirley Ryan Ability Lab Blackhawks. But we just they took me under the wing, kind of, and kind of showed me the ropes and just really helped me get my hockey IQ up, and that was a big help.
Sure. Now, starting in Champaign, how familiar were you with competing in sled hockey before you started here in Champaign?
Not at all. I mean, I went to Sochi for cross country skiing, and then when I watched sled hockey over there, I didn't even know the rules. Like, I knew nothing about hockey. I mean, I started from square one, but I just, went into it 100%, and then, good things happen when you put in the work.
Sure. Okay. So take me through that moment of you realizing, you know what, I want to do sled hockey, and you know what, I want to take this all the way to a Paralympics. What was that moment?
I can remember sitting in the athlete lounge in Sochi, and we were watching the gold medal game for sled hockey on the closed circuit TV they had going, and I don't know, just watching the speed and the athleticism that the team had, and all the physicality. I was like, I'm in the wrong sport. I'm doing the wrong things. I need to go be a part of this, and it's been great ever since. I mean.
Okay, now just thinking, kind of reflecting back, and now you're entering games and competing in sled hockey. How is that different for you, competing in sled hockey as compared to cross-country skiing?
Really, I mean, I got to give a lot of credit to cross-country skiing. It got me in phenomenal shape, and so I think that transferred over to sled hockey really, really well. So as soon as I started doing sled hockey, I was already fit. I was already really strong. So I didn't have to work on that part as much. I just had to really get my skill work up. But it's a team sport, and that's so different than doing these individual sports where out on the course, cross-country skiing, all I cared about was how was I performing and where I was at. Where now I have to really be a part of a team and support my teammates no matter what's going on the ice. And we win together and we lose together. So, but I enjoy that aspect. I enjoy having the team chemistry.
Oh, sure. I know, it's just in talking with some of the wheelchair track athletes here who have switched from basketball to track. They like to bring up the fact of the team aspect that you were just talking about. But for you, how much of that team aspect is a driving force, and is that something that you also felt in skiing, or is it a new feeling?
I'd say it's a new feeling because I never had if I had a bad race, it was in cross country, it was just on me, and it didn't really affect anybody else. But now, I don't want to let my teammates down, and that's a huge driving force to keep working hard. Is that it's not just about you. You're going to let other people down if you aren't ready and trained up. So, that's huge. These guys are all amazing, and that you don't want to be the weak link in the chain. So, it really pushes you to stay on point.
Oh, sure. So you mentioned kind of some pressure. Could you describe that pressure of not wanting to let your teammates down?
I don't find it as pressure during the game because hockey is a game of mistakes and we're all gonna make them. So it's not pressure that I don't want to make a mistake, because if you play scared, I think you're gonna end up losing. But it's more of training. I think it's more of a training thing. You feel you don't want to slack because other people are counting on you. But when it comes to game time, we all support each other and we're all pushing for each other. And someone could make a mistake, but hey, someone's gonna be there to support me and back me up. And
Cool. Alright, very cool. And as compared to cross-country skiing, What does it mean to you to have some people right by your side, supporting you at kind of every second of every match?
I mean, I just feel like that's what it's all about. I mean, it's about the team. It's not about me and how well I played that game. You know, it's how did we perform as a team, and so it's an amazing feeling, like working together and to accomplish one goal. I can't even really describe it.
Cool. All right, Travis. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Great to be on.
Yeah, all right. Well, we'll be right back for more Rollin Illini here on WPGU 107.1 and UPTV. All right, welcome back in the studio here on Green Street Friday nights. What are we doing in the studio? We're talking about
Staying awake.
Paralympics.
We're staying awake.
Yeah,
That's what we're
staying
doing.
awake. That too. Challenge number 1 accepted. So fun time with Travis. Spoke with him last night prior to the opening ceremony. One thing I was telling these guys was that when Travis was talking about his efforts to learn sled hockey and take his sled hockey talents to the next level, it started at the ice rink here on campus. So extra time in the rink.
I'm telling you, Will let him in. Will open the doors.
I'm not gonna lie, I've never actually met him, so. But I will say that it is
Wow. I
can't even
impressive
lie in
that he
peace.
just picked up a sport like that in such a short period of time to play
Yeah, just realizing
at like
in-
the elite level too.
Yeah, just realizing in Sochi, you know, I want to do sled hockey. 4 years later, he's competing.
Right. I said a lot of things I wanted to do, and I still ain't did them. So shouts out to him.
I still can't wrap my head around that because it's like with a sport like hockey, there are so many different elements to it. You have to be a strong skater. You have to have like strong, like stick handling skills. You have to be able to, absorb contact from other players. I mean, when we saw sled hockey, I mean, there is a lot of contact in that sport in terms of the way that, I mean, they check each other just like you'd see in like able-bodied hockey as well.
Right, yeah, I think the most contact James received when he was doing sled hockey was actually the ice.
I was gonna say, oh yeah, that'd be me and the ice, because I would, I got a few tips on how to stick the picks in the ground. And I was like, I got this, and I stuck them in the ground, and I just fell over. So it's hard. Like you have to balance very, very, very well to stay on there.
Hmm.
Obviously, I did it for 15 minutes, and by minute 15, I was still a failure.
Wow.
It was cool though, honestly. Like watching it, and
Yeah.
getting out there and kind of seeing it from their perspective. It was dope.
Well, good. We'll stick with the pros, though, okay, James?
Always,
Don't-
always. I'm a positive guy.
Don't declare for the 2022 Paralympics, okay? But back to Travis. He has competed for Team USA, as we've talked about. They do kind of a pool play round, so a preliminary round, face a few other teams from different countries, and build up your record in advance to playoffs, and that'll take you to the semifinal and final rounds for the gold medal, silver, and bronze. So that'll be fun to watch. Something we'll be watching right here in Champaign. We will keep you posted, of course.
You, the listener, you're always welcome to join in on our viewing parties too. Just
Always.
open invitation.
5 a.m. Great time.
We got Cheerios, no milk.
You know, Will lie that he has breakfast burritos from B-Dubs.
That
Those
never
do not
happened.
exist.
I
First
said
of
breakfast biscuits. I just want to
I
make
don't
that
know
clear.
what Ryan got out of this, because I heard what Will said, but we're all sitting there and Ryan goes, yeah, you got any of those B-Dubs
I
breakfast
swear
wings
he
or
said
something?
B-Dubs.
And I'm like, what? Like everyone looks at what? Like
Bavita.
Oh,
the lack of sleep was catching up with him. He was seeing chickens fly by.
But yeah, big shout out to James for bringing Pop-Tarts. Those were delicious.
we had Pop-Tarts, Belvita,
Breakfast
things.
of Champions.
Yes. No chips. We missed out on that.
I had banana chips. That kind of counts, right?
All right, that works.
No
We had all
Doritos,
the
though.
main fruit group.
Yeah, I stuck with the junk food. So definitely do join us if you would like. We have a great time. You might even get on camera. Check us out on social media to see what we did from our fun little viewing party this morning. You even get to watch the sun come up behind our back. Yikes. Let's
That
not
just
do
tells
that
you how
again.
early we are. But clocks are being set.
You even helped
Yes.
This weekend.
Turtle in too as well.
I know, we're just great people today. Wearing our
Just today.
every other day. Don't mess with me at 5 a.m. Okay. I'm wearing my Team USA shirts. Proudly, James got his Rollin Illini shirts. Will, I think it's stitched on your heart. Like that.
There you go.
Good save, Ryan. Good save. I was gonna call him out.
Nah. I'm gonna wait for the commercial break. And speaking of a commercial break, we will take one here and come back with the most decorated Winter Paralympian out there, Ragnhild Myklebust from Norway, cross-country skier, not competing, but reflecting on her career. Welcome back, Rollin Illini, UPTV, WPGU 1071. James, Will, Jason, I am Ryan here. We have Ragnhild Myklebust from Norway, again the most decorated Winter Paralympian. She has the second most Paralympic medals in history. So we got to chat with her at 2 a.m. this morning. Here it is. We're now joined by the most decorated Winter Paralympian out there in the business right now, Ragnhild Myklebust. The opening ceremony in just a couple hours. Um, what's it like for you to watch a Paralympics now and just to see all these fresh athletes come through the ranks?
I think it's nice, and I enjoy to watch them all, and I don't miss the time.
You don't miss it. Why's that?
No, I'm now 74 years old, and so competing, that's many years ago. But it was a real nice time, and I enjoyed it all the time.
Yeah, good deal. So I know I had asked this yesterday, but when you think about all these medals you've won, what comes to mind?
It's very difficult to say that this or that was the best, because all the time I think I was fighting for doing my best all the time. But of course, as I told you yesterday, the relay in Lillehammer, that was maybe one of the best, just because I had the first lap, and I was so astonished when I was the fastest one in the beginning, because most of the other, they were standing and I was sitting, and I was the fastest of all of us. So that was well, a really good one. And the biathlon in Nagano, that was a very good one as well.
Yeah.
But which was the best, I don't know.
That's all right. So when you think about the medals you've won, and then you look at some of the competitions now, how do you feel the competitions and sports have?
Well, not, I can't say change, but people have changed, of course, and some of the tracks are maybe more difficult, especially for the standing people. So that's a challenge, I think, because people with higher injuries, but not sitting, who wants to be a standing up athlete, for them it's very difficult. So I think that's not good, because the everyone can't compete anymore.
Mm-hmm. Why? Why is it very difficult for these standing athletes then?
Because the track has been more difficult, more hard downhills and curves and stuff like that. And if you have lost one leg uh, high up, you won't have the balance to do the same as other people, for example, with just one arm. So I think it's much harder today for many
Hmm.
of the athletes.
So could you kind of take us through what the average course was like when you were competing then?
When I competed, the track was it was not that steep up and not that steep down, so it wasn't that difficult.
Okay. So as the courses have become difficult, we've seen obviously the sports become more popular. What is that like for you to watch these athletes from all over the world come together for various sports and the participation is increasing?
Of course, coming together with other and see other disabled people, that's really good, and you can to be able to compete with other peoples from other countries and so on. That's just great. But you know, when in such competition as Paralympics, you have not very much time to see other people, to do anything else but compete and sleep and eat. It's hard time.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I would imagine. So for you, what was your schedule like day to day with practice and oh yeah, you gotta eat too. Yeah.
Yeah, I had not many difficulties. When I used to sleep well because I managed to be on one day at the time and not worry myself about the next day. So I was just where I was at all the time.
Okay. So just to take a step back, what is it like for you? Or what was it like for you growing up in Norway, having an impairment, and being interested in doing sports?
Um, I was, in fact, rather lucky because, yeah, okay, so in school, not all the other pupils were very kind and stuff like that. But when I grew up, that was when the time where the sport for handicapped people started. And we were a rather large group together. So we could see other young people with, well, not just the same injury, but with different kinds of injuries, and we could compete together with other people. Today, I think it's much harder in a way for disabled people in school, for example, because you have one pupil here and one in another school, and then you have to compete in a way towards normal being people, and then you always lose. And I think that does, especially here in Norway, that not very many start with sports, and I think that's really sad.
Yeah, so just to go back to something you had mentioned, you said you guys work together. Who is the we you're referencing in which you guys work together?
Uh, it was a sports club for disabled people.
Mm-hmm.
We had some who were blind, who, well, I use crutches most of the time, but people who with just one leg, people with well, different kinds of disabilities. So the club, sports club, was for disabled people and not for other.
You had mentioned that maybe people weren't so nice
Of
growing up.
course, I mean, when I went to the my first start in school, the older boys, they just loved to push me, so I felt, and some other people, they called me nicknames because I limped. So, but I think that's the same today. I don't know.
Okay, so do you think for you that was kind of just motivation to do even better to prove them wrong?
No, it
Yeah.
wasn't.
Hmm.
No, it was just when I started, because I was asked to join this new organization for disabled, to train together with them. That was my. Then I felt here I can do just the same as the rest of the group. And of course, after a short time, I started with table tennis, and with bow and arrow shooting, and stuff like that. And I saw I was pretty good in a lot of sports. And uh, then, of course, I felt, well, here is an arena. I'm as good as able people are.
Oh, that's so great. So to have that realization of, you know what, I'm just as good as them. What was that like for you?
I felt I got much more, I got stronger. I could lift my head, and when we had Norwegian championships and stuff like that, I could go back to my school. Well, I didn't do that, but I knew I could go back to my school and say, can you do the same? Shut up.
Oh, that's so great. And I bet they did shut up, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I think I had a rather normal time as a youngster.
Sure. Okay. So as you got more involved with different para sports, what did your family think?
Well, they always said that was good what I did, and they always helped me and supported me always.
Hmm.
So I had no problem, not with my parents, and I got three sisters, and I never felt. Of course, sometimes I was just as other kids fighting, stuff like that, but I don't think I felt much that I was a dummy or anything like that.
Hmm.
I,
Nice.
not compared to my sisters.
Okay. Well, that's a really good feeling. So, just end on a final question. At Pyeongchang 2018, what will you be most looking forward to?
For me, it's cross country, of course. Yeah, so, but it's in the middle of the night here, so I have to record it so I can see it the day after.
Yeah.
I'm not standing up at 2 o'clock in the night.
Yeah. You know, I think I'm doing that just right now, exactly.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I'd do it any day for you. It's fine. But thank you so much. I think that is all the time we have just right now. So we'll be right back for more Rollin Illini here at WPGU 107.1. And you, we're right. We're right, James. We're always right. We fun interview there with Ragnar Hill. 2 a.m. this morning. Very enlightening. Learned a lot. I was full of energy after that. Full of energy for our viewing party at 5 a.m. Slept probably just a half an hour between the interview and the viewing party. But I'm still going.
Just a few more hours. You'll make it.
We can do it. So James and Will, what did you guys learn from Ragnar Hill? She talked a lot about how sports helped her feel as if she was normal. She started with table tennis, then transitioned to a bunch of other things, and she started off being bullied, and then when she was in sports, the things changed.
I mean, I think the biggest takeaway for me was what she was saying about how sport was empowering for her, because I think, in essence, I think that's kind of the main goal of para athletics, really, because it kind of shows that people with disabilities still are, just as capable of, performing at a high level. And it shows, that you really shouldn't be looking at people for their disabilities, but rather, the things that they're capable of doing. I know one thing she talked about in her interview was thinking about, like, her classmates and, like, can you do this at all? Because, like, I mean, it just gave her that confidence.
Shut up.
I love that part. I mean, in all honesty, just poetic justice. I mean, that's how you script it. That's how you write it, And she was talking about her real life. So I'm always a sucker for the underdog story and to hear about her. And obviously, when she's talking about beating classmates, no one knew she was going to go on to be the greatest, winner Paralympian of all time. But she was.
She was.
So that's pretty cool. That was pretty cool. I think I learned a lot just from, hearing her about her perseverance. Because obviously, when you're going through those moments, you might have those moments of resiliency against people that are doubting you. But I'm sure there was moments and times where she might doubt herself, but she let it kind of consume her, and she used it as fuel to kind of push her and keep her going. And even now, she can kind of tell she's got a little edge to her.
Oh, of course. Yeah, I would not want to play a competitive game of table tennis against her. No, thank you. But just going off of that, James, we watched the opening ceremony this morning, as we've talked about, and going off of what Ragnar Hill was talked about, in a speech by Andrew Parsons, the IPC president, he opened the games just by discussing dreams, discussing goals in your life. So one thing he said is, without a dream, there is little hope. And go forward a little bit, the journey of an athlete starts with a dream. The dream of competing in sport, of representing your country, of winning a medal, and writing your name into history. I think Ragnar Hill has done that. I think Tatiana has done that. She wrote her name on the wall, exactly.
Jean Driscoll.
Jean Driscoll, Michael Mitchell.
What about the Underworld Wolves?
Yeah.
Nah.
They're on the wall. But it's,
call it history.
But yeah, that was a powerful statement this morning, for sure.
Yeah, Andrew Parsons is a good person. I have never interacted with him, but I would like to. I am on a pursuit to talk with the president of the IPC. Maybe we'll have him on here.
Gotta start with the dream, Ryan.
He did, fun fact, he did 16 consecutive interviews yesterday. Ugh.
We'll have to make it 17 next time around.
Want a challenge? Come on our show. But it's 7 o'clock on this Paralympics mega show.
Yeah.
5 a.m. viewing party. I think it's time we close the chapter on this week in the show, because next week we have wheelchair basketball.
Stay tuned for updates throughout the week.
Yes, it's the wheelchair basketball playoffs. We will keep you posted on our Facebook, Rollin Illini, and on our Twitter, Rollin Illini. Where else? I just find that stupid. Where else are you looking? Anyways, on our Facebook and Twitter, follow us, like us, pin us, share us, review us, anything you want. Skype us, just not at 2 a.m. We'll be sharing Wilshire basketball content, men's and women's. See you there and here next Friday and throughout the week.